Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Malrias' Musings. This is Malrias, and these are my musings. And today, we're doing a new monster movie review. This one on Frankenstein 2025 by Guillermo del Toro. The 2025 Frankenstein is going to cap off our Universal monster movie run. We may be doing some encores later, but this is basically the final episode of that run. So, let me tell you straight up, if you haven't seen the movie yet, there will be spoilers, so be aware of that. I'm not holding anything back, but I'm not going to talk about everything. I just want to cover my thoughts on it. We've got new equipment. This is my first video on the new camera. I'm going to see how it goes. I'm going to be doing some new processes, so it's going to look a little wonky, but hopefully the channel's just going to elevate more and more from here. So, overview of the film. Well, we know the director's Guillermo del Toro. Of course, this movie starring Edgar Allan Poe Dameron himself. That's the main character, Victor. Jacob Elordi, my lord, he does such a good job as the creature. It's amazing. So we're going to come back and talk about him some more. Mia Goth, perfect name for someone going to be starring in this movie. Mia Goth playing Elizabeth. She does a good job. Of course, Christoph Waltz, he brings his normal ambiance to, every role that he's in. He brings in that ambiance here too. It's Christoph Waltz, and I mean that in a good way. Now we've got a couple alumni from Game of Thrones, David Bradley and Charles Dance. They were on Game of Thrones. Both of them played kind of mean guys. Fortunately, only the one plays a mean guy, and the other one plays, David Bradley plays the old man. And the old man who's kind of one of a very important part of the story. Sometimes he's touched on, sometimes he's not. I'm glad that they touched on him here. And of course, Lars Mikkelsen. These are the older actors that are on here, really kind of, even though they have smaller parts, they really elevate the whole film. They play their parts so well. They're veterans. They know how to act. So understand that Del Toro grew up on these movies, right? And I've been saying through the whole series that Universal's got this thing where they know how to make a sympathetic monster. And Del Toro as a child, I've seen this in interviews, he says things like, he's watching The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and he has sympathy for the Gill Man, and he sees the love that the Gill Man has for the female, and he kind of wanted them to get together. That's how we get The Shape of Water, because he couldn't actually make that movie happen at Universal, and so now we see him playing this out in Frankenstein. Frankenstein always was one of the more, sympathetic monsters. I prefer to call him creature now, because he's not even a monster in this movie. The creature, we'll get to that. In Bride of Frankenstein, there's some Christ on the cross imagery and resurrection imagery that Del Toro pays homage to in this movie. I was really touched by that. Really like that. The style is very Del Toro. If you've watched any of his movies, he's got that kind of slightly it's gothic, but it's also slick too at the same time. And by slick, I mean some of the characters feel like they should be slimy slightly, but it's filled with rich cinematic goth scenes. It's a really good way to set up that movie. Talking about it, but as far as the lead up, but if we get into the story, and I know I said there'll be spoilers, there's not a lot for me to spoil. Everybody knows the story, even if you've never seen a Frankenstein movie. I'm sure you kind of get the idea. A guy was made by another guy, and everything goes to hell after that. It's the idea of Prometheus taking fire from heaven and being, punished, or the other guy, Icarus, who tried to fly too close to the sun. So everybody knows the story. So some of the themes that are focused on here are, and I love, this is even a line in the movie, the theme that they push really hard is the monsters are the ones who play God. Monsters are the ones who play God. And that's kind of the central gem of the movie, the central theme. So he's taking that sympathetic monster, and we're just elevating that. We're going to cultivate that. We're going to push that a little more in this movie. And as I mentioned before, we have some Christ crucifixion and imagery and resurrection imagery. It almost as if the creature's in a constant state of resurrection because he's always regenerating. There's also the subtext of, misconduct towards people that we're responsible for and the consequences of that. That you shouldn't judge anybody by how they appear. Beauty and monstrosity of that kind are only skin deep, but good and evil is your actions, So when Del Toro goes to reinterpret this, he makes the creature even more sympathetic than he was, like Karloff's Frankenstein. For Karloff's monster, I'll call him, Karloff's creature, was very sympathetic. This one is even more. We really push the bar on sympathy here. And the theme that the real monster here is the Doctor gets pushed and cultivated even more in this movie. So we really kind of lean heavy into that, which is a good thing. So key performances, like I said before, there's some great performances in here. And I don't say this dismissively. I say this as a setup for what I'm about to say. But I don't say this dismissively, but they're all of the performances that you would expect from this caliber of veterans. But when you have somebody like Jacob Elordi, which I haven't seen him in a lot, I know he's been in other movies. I haven't seen him in other movies. But to see this not as veteran actor coming up and playing across from, what was his name? David Bradley, and sharing a scene with him and sharing a movie with all these other great actors. And he's really the star of the show. I mean, he really becomes the creature. So as far as performances, I really got to give the VIP or the MVP to Lordi, because he really just, it's impressive that he was holding his own with everyone else in this league. Some standout moments for me. I love the fact that the character Elizabeth immediately gravitates towards the creature. This is something that I've heard Del Toro touch on before, and like we were talking about the Gill Man. So like people like, I want to say freaky people like us, like me and Del Toro, and probably some of you watching this video. Those of us who kind of root for the monster sometimes, or those of us who feel ugly on the outside, we feel outcast from the central society. We feel outcast like the creature does. This movie is a vicarious win, and I think for Del Toro too. I mean, I look at Del Toro, he's kind of a round guy like me, and of course both of us want to end up with the girl that we want, with the lady that we want, with the woman that we want. But the only reason we don't is because we're different. So, in that sense, I'm not saying that I'm taking hold of fully understanding Del Toro's psychology, because I know I'm projecting myself into this, but I'm sure there's some of that in there too, where we want the monster to not be the monster. We want the monster to be the hero and do good things and end up with the girl, even though he's so different than everything else that's around him, And I think that's definitely it literally excited me when not in that way, but like it excited me, like it got my blood going when I saw her go to the creature. Even over her fiance, she's like, this guy's interesting. But it also established that she's like that Lydia Dietz type character, like she studies insects for her future kind of deal. So there's that. What else? Okay, so another interpretational stuff. I got a whole list here. Crap, I'm trying to get there. There's so much to talk about with this movie. And it just came out, so some of these things are being said for the first time, so I want to get all my thoughts out on this one. Or at least most of the big ones. The prosthetic leg. And I don't know if this is another Star Wars reference with the main character losing a limb, but more so than that, or connecting two characters through a loss of a limb. But forget the Star Wars thing for a minute. Just the fact that Victor losing his leg connects him to the creature on a couple. You could take it two ways. One is now they're both made up of parts because he has a prosthetic leg now. But another way you could look at it is the creature started as a corpse and there was things added to him, parts and stuff. Victor is having parts removed from him, so that's another way you can look at it. But either way, it's thematically connected, that he's losing parts, he's got another part for a leg, the creature's made up of parts. So there's definitely a connection there. Also, I like that it's implied that the creature's soul, and they leave it open for interpretation, but the way I kind of took it is, he's his own person, but even his soul is an amalgam of pieces of other souls because he's an amalgam of other people. So the soul that he has is like contains pieces of other people's life. That's why he comes out and he's like, I have all these strange memories, that don't match. So the direction style, let's get into the director's style. The direction style is very Del Toro. It's visually stunning. There's gore in it, but the gore is so the gore is so fitting it's natural. Like you wouldn't, where you do see gore, if there wasn't gore, you'd feel off. And the gore doesn't look fakey, and it doesn't look over the top. But there is gore. I mean, it is a bit gory, and it is a bit accurate to like what things look like on the inside. But it's only in the scenes where it's supposed to be, and it's just at the right level. Not too much, not too little. It's perfect. The soundtrack, I found the soundtrack to be somewhat captivating. It does have that gothic feel that you see in other movies like this. So it gave me a feeling of, it's on the tip of my tongue. I've heard this before, but I just can't quite place where I've heard this music before. But I think maybe it's just the violin gothic style that they're doing. But it did seem to make me think of Bram Stoker's Dracula for some reason. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the whole soundtrack and see if maybe there was some borrowing. I don't know. It just made me feel like and think, and I think maybe that was the idea. It made me feel like I was watching one of the movies, which it is. So I guess that works. But I like the soundtrack. I'm glad that it works. So symbolism, there's so many like setups and payoffs. Like in the beginning of the movie, Victor's playing with this porcelain body, trying to learn medicine. And then when his parents die, they're put in caskets that look very similar to this porcelain model that he's playing with. So there's a lot of like setups and payoffs like that. We've got multiple comments towards Prometheus. Remember, the original book was called The Modern Prometheus. So there's Promethean references in the movie. Also, this is something else I wondered about. When Edgar Allan Poe Dameron is on the ship, the window behind him seems to look like the kind of window you'd see in Star Wars. Just saying. Just gonna throw that out there. It could have been on those ships before. Maybe Lucas got it from those actual ships, but that window looks like a Return of the Jedi or even Millennium Falcon window. So my emotional reaction to the movie, I will be honest that I found the movie just the tiniest bit triggery, because we do talk about people being abusive to people you're supposed to be taking care of. And I don't want YouTube to hate me, so I'm not going to get too close to you can see where I'm going with that. Let's just put it this way. The creature is very much a child of Victor, and Victor does not act like a parent. At all. At all. At all. He doesn't even act like a scientist should with like a lab rat. Like it's bad. It's triggery. It's so bad. But it's so well done that it's triggery, if that makes sense. So, Victor is rough with the creature. And the creature is just so innocent. Like, the creature comes out, and this is going to be a spoiler, but the creature comes out when he first meets Victor. He's trying to mirror him. And that's like the first word he learns, Victor. And he says it like his child saying mom or dad. Victor. And then the abuse starts from Victor. Because you're just a thing that I made. I own you. You're my property. That's how he kind of handles him. Or worse than that, really. Anyways. But we see that Elizabeth immediately sees the pain in him and immediately gravitates towards him. So it was very, emotionally very deep. I thought it was a very emotionally deep, intellectually deep movie, and I thought it did a very good job. Now, as I compare it to the other films, nothing's ever gonna take the place of Karloff in that. But I'm gonna be honest with you. This is my new favorite Frankenstein movie. I swear, this movie's so good, and there's so much in it. And part of it is that Del Toro took what was there and just elevated everything. He just elevated everything, brought it up to the next level. So it's very much like, it's not an exact retelling because he's put his own twist into it, but he's elevated all of the elements that he found in those old movies that he liked, that I found also. This is one of those things, his dream for monster movies is my dream for monster movies. So it's like, I'm vicariously enjoying, like, this is my dream for like a Frankenstein movie. This is like the best thing. My last video, or one of my last videos, my shorts, I was talking about how I love a redemption story. So, I mean, those elements being in this, I mean, even though, I don't want to get too spoilery, but even though certain elements are in there, I mean, it just elevates the whole story, the whole movie. So, and it's going to resonate with people like me, little freaks, and people who like weird things. I think it's going to be a movie that most people can watch, but it's going to be people like me that are really going to resonate with it. I wouldn't be surprised this gets like a following, and you start seeing like Frankenstein shit everywhere. That's when it's going to start to suck, but that's just because I'm a cat, it's like I can't like what everybody else is liking. But I love this movie before it's cool. So the strengths of the movie: visually stunning, emotionally, intellectually deep. Everything like fans like me and Del Toro would want to see in a movie like this. The right person's getting the girl. When I say the girl, the woman, I'm using the old terminology, get the girl. Right off into the sunset, that good shit. He doesn't get to stay with her, but at least they get to share a moment where neither one of them have to pretend. It's really beautiful. The whole movie's beautiful, to be honest with you. I like horror movies that are beautiful. Now, it's not a perfect movie in the sense that The Godfather is, but it's really good. Like, each scene leads into the other. Each scene is concise. It's along the lines of being a perfect movie. Now, one of the problems with this is that I haven't had enough time to mull it over and watch it a few more times to really nitpick any criticisms. But I don't see anything off the cuff. Like, one of the things, like maybe Harlander's character, the Christoph Waltz character, I think, well, maybe I could have seen more stuff with him or different things with him. But then when I think it through, I go, yeah, but what else are you going to do with that character? So even the criticisms that I've come up with, because I'm trying to not look through it through rose-colored glasses, I'm still in a place where it's like, well, what else are you going to do with it? To put more on Harlander would to take away from some other aspect of the movie. The movie's already 2 hours long, So, overall takeaway though, this movie's definitely going on next year's monster movie list. I'm probably going to watch it a couple more times before next Halloween. And it's a great movie. I give it a 5 out of 5. And sadly, this is going to bring our main run to a close. Like, don't get me wrong, there's probably going to be more monster movie uploads, but this is the last one in the run. This is the one we've been shooting for. And no, I didn't necessarily plan to end here. It just fell that way. So I'm going to roll through it. We got some new technology that I'm working with, so it's not new for you guys, but it's new for me. So hopefully I can put this video together by the end of the day. If not, we'll see what happens. But either way, I'll see you all on the flip side. Malrias out.